Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 157 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Dirk as per usual, talking all things footy. We're live on the Area 51 Facebook page, the Twitter page, and the brand new Terminal City FC YouTube channel. So, as I said last week, we're going to go live on that from now on instead of the Area 51 YouTube channel. We'll put more of our shorts or reels, whatever you want to call it, on that channel. Maybe some just solo video content about anything soccer. But yeah, long story short, Area Terminal City FC is now on YouTube, so you can enjoy us there as well. So I couldn't wait to record this episode, but we had to record it today because Game 2, the Whitecaps are still alive. Vancouver Whitecaps with a 3-0 win over LAFC, one of the best nights of the MLS era to date, but there's still a Game 3 to be played, but we're going to talk about Game 2 first.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. A lot of people were cautiously optimistic about a win. I don't think anyone saw a 3-0 win.
Nope.
Vanny talked about in the press conference after the game where there was a lot of similarities between the first game and the second game, but it's when you get all those bounces that just go your way, and
when you convert.
Yeah. But in Game 2, those bounces did go their way, and it gives you that extra space to breathe and finally convert your shots. 3-0 win. We can start right away with Ryan Gauld.
Yeah, 10 minutes into the match. Let's talk about the lineup first. Was different. It was very attacking. So we got Gauld, White, Fafa Picault, Stuart Armstrong starting together once again. Got Ali Ahmed in the midfield with Kubis and Armstrong. But interesting is Sam Adekugbe as a left back in a Christmas tree formation. We've seen that before. But what we've never seen before is Sebastian Berhalter as a right back. More on him later. But as Nathan mentioned, Gauld gets the Whitecaps going. 10 minutes into the match. Great link-up play between him, Armstrong, and Brian White.
Yeah.
I mean, Armstrong's initial shot was blocked, but Gauld was there to be that second man and pounce on the rebound, and it's past Hugo Lloris.
One thing I really like is that entire play was actually started by Ryan Gauld as well. Cutting inside the box, passing towards the left. I believe it was Fafa Picault on the left who brought it into Armstrong afterwards. But Gauld doesn't stop his run. As he keeps moving, keeps finding that space, becoming more central. And I mean, that's the quality of a heads-up player like that. It's like once you make the play, you're not done with the play. He's still there. He's still a part of it. He's still, he's hungry. And I mean, it's paying off. The amount of goal contributions this guy has right now, he's leading the MLS playoffs.
Yeah, and at this rate, he could be MLS playoffs MVP. Give it depending on how far.
If they had such an award, I don't think they do. But
I don't think they do. It's not like hockey with the Conn Smythe or anything.
Hockey has so many individual awards. I mean, just look at Jaromir Jagr and the best hair award for the past 15 years.
Yeah, but Gauld, he wasn't done. Like, 3 minutes later, he runs down the right wing. It looked like to be a cross, but noted Caps killer in the past, Ryan Hollingshead, deflects it into his own net, and this time it's into his own net, not into the Whitecaps net, and it's 2-0 less than 15 minutes into the match.
Hollingshead had a disaster game. This was not the only. Obviously this is the most glaring, but he did not play well throughout this entire game. We should also talk about is what made that goal possible. Not only was Gauld's cross, but that killer pass from Sebastian Berhalter on the right,
as a right back,
right? He's getting through two different lines to find Gauld with that pass. And the interesting thing is, in normal cases, Berhalter would have never been able to make that pass. He would have been closed down, but he had all the time in the world.
Yeah, and as a right back, he seemed to adapt to the position well. Like, there was that killer pass to Gauld, passes up the pitch on that right flank, but his defensive work on that side, he really shone there, especially against Danny Bouanga in that first half. He kept Bouanga quiet.
Yep. Also talk about even this. Oh, we will get to the second half, but there was that great sliding tackle inside the box where it could have been very dangerous, could have ended up as a penalty, but it was well timed. It was an aggressive challenge, and I think that's one thing that we don't think about Berhalter all that often is that he is a player that plays very close to that line, never really goes across it, not often.
Yeah. And he's always been smart with his tackles. He's like, I don't think he's ever been sent off. I mean, he's got yellows, but he's never done anything rash.
No, very much. He has a very level head, which I like. If you're going to play on that line, you need to. You can't let emotion take over, because if that happens, well, we're going to talk about another MLS player where that did happen later on.
Yeah, more on that later. But
second half, Segura, another own goal, 68th minute.
Yeah, it looked like Brian White deflected it, but it looked like he didn't even touch it. Ryan Gauld, from the throw-in, just runs into the box and tries a low cross, but it's off Segura, not White, as many initially thought. And
I did too. I thought White kind of backheeled it in as he was turning his body, but it wasn't close to him, and it went off Segura. It's kind of tough. You can't really blame Lloris for any of those goals.
Yeah, because the defending, deflections. Yeah, Lloris was not at fault. And after each goal, Lloris looked very upset with his defenders, and rightfully so.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I think we should say it wasn't just the defense. I said in the first game that where everything was running through for LAFC was Bogusz he was playing further back in the midfield. He was quiet. I didn't notice him at all. He was taken out of the game just as much as Bouanga was taken out of the game.
Yeah, but Bouanga did come to life in the second half, like right in the second half, because when I was thinking in the press box, how do they close this out? How do they make sure LAFC not get back into this game?
Yeah.
Well, but the goal was nice, but there was also some good defensive moments, not just from Berhalter, but even your last line of defense, Yohei Takaoka. Denny Bouanga just goes around Tristan Blackman, and then Takaoka just stones him on the breakaway, and really smart of him to come out with the challenge.
Blackman had an okay game, but he had two very questionable plays.
Yeah, that was one of them.
Passes where he lobbed Takaoka. He lobbed his own keeper, and if it wasn't for Takaoka being smart, being able to get back and smother that ball. Again, as well, it happened another time where just there was some miscommunication between Blackman and Takaoka. Those are moments. Those are moments that thankfully did not turn. Those are the ones where in game one, the bounce might not have gone your way. Bouanga on that left, playing on the same side that Blackman would have been playing, a right center back. Those are the sort of things that he capitalizes on. So in game two, it's again a good example of just not happening for LAFC.
Yeah, and there's an old saying: you got to be good to be lucky, and lucky to be good. You got to create your own luck here, because you don't buy a lottery ticket. If you don't win the lottery, if you don't buy a ticket.
And we can also talk about with the whole idea of luck was Bjorn Inge Utvik coming on.
Yes. When I saw the sub being for Sam Adekubi, like, okay, this is a little questionable because Utvik lacks the pace, but it didn't really matter because LAFC's corner was bouncing all over the place. It went past Takaoka, but Utvik was the last line of defense and just cleared it with his knee.
Yeah. Lucky. Yeah. You said it just moments ago. That in order to have luck, you have to put your positions where luck can actually occur, and that was definitely one of them.
Yeah, and big credit to Takaoka in the second half too, because he didn't really have a lot to do in the first half, but the second half he was ready.
Yeah, and he came up with some very, very big saves. Definitely
that breakaway. Yeah, and Takaoka was asked about it after the game, what he was going through his mind when he faced Bouanga. He said he was ready, that there's going to be a one-on-one with Bouanga, and he just made the right decision. And he even said there was a bit of luck there, but he was happy to make the save and help the team.
He also talked about patience, and I think that's one thing that you really want from your goalkeeper is someone that for the speed that a play is coming at you, and it's all players coming at you, whether it's your own or the other team, is being able to kind of just slow time down to be able to read and make that decision.
Yeah, and just watching it back, like even when before Blackman got skinned, Takaoka looked ready. Like he was prepared to face Bouanga.
Yeah. I thought Vanny did pretty well with the subs when Ryan Raposo came on late in the game. He added an extra sense of late game energy, which was really, really nice. There was never a moment where, besides, I would say maybe about 10 minutes at the very beginning of the second half, where LA could have come back into it. If they had scored a goal in that, it would have become very precarious. Yes. Once the Whitecaps settled things back down, they got back towards their game in the latter stages of the second half. It never seemed like it was going to go any other direction.
Yeah, and just like the Portland game, this is the Vancouver Whitecaps when everyone is healthy and everyone is on top of their game. This is a dangerous team, and they proved they can play well against the elites of MLS.
There is also a little bit of depth in this team. I mean, we took a look at that starting 11, and there were a few surprises in that, yet it was still very, very strong, very, very attacking. There are other players that you would have maybe expected to be in there in difference to some of the ones that were, but it gives you that idea that it's not just an 11 and a bunch of other guys. There is an 18 that you can kind of go back and forth between. There's not a lot of depth. There's not depth every position. There may be depth, but it's a noticeable gap between who is starting and who's not. But it does feel, and we've talked about this before, that this does feel like the most cohesive squad under Vanni Sartini.
Yeah, and under the whole MLS era since they came into the league in 2011. And just good on the Whitecaps. Once again, they executed a game plan, just came out guns blazing because they played like there was no tomorrow, and they lived to see another day. Just great ball movement. Press was active, and it was Vanny disagreed, saying it was a more balanced, but the full attack lineup, it paid off. Yeah. And what was more impressive was the ending, the defense, Yoi Takaoka. They just stood on their heads, and they kept on pushing and pushing to make sure LAFC did not get back into the game, and they threw LAFC off the game because the likes of Bouanga, Bogusz, Oliveira, and so many others were frustrated and taking yellow cards.
You know what is very, very true. This Trandolo is a great manager. He's a great head coach, but it felt like that there wasn't they didn't expect what or how Vancouver was going to line up, how they were going to play. It's kind of surprising. It's not like Vancouver hasn't done this before. It's not like you didn't expect them to go all out in their own building in what could have potentially been their final game of the season. But it seemed like only one team showed up to play a playoff game.
Yeah, that's a good.
Let's put it that way. Only one team showed up to play a playoff game. And LAFC, right from the very beginning, they seemed a little off. And when you're able to get that first goal, I mean, we talk about the record of the Whitecaps and the record of LAFC when either of those teams gets the first goal. I mean, you're off to the races at that point.
Yeah, and first goal got the crowd into the game. You should shout out to the 20,000 plus at BC Place. I don't know about you, but I think that was, if not the one of the loudest crowds I've ever heard BC Place at a Whitecaps game, even before the game. I mean, they got the fireworks, the tifo that said, give your all for the badge, and then we'll give all for you. But part that stood out for me, like 78th minute, I believe, the whole Whitecaps chant that rang around the stadium when they were up 3-0. That was beautiful.
That I caught myself looking over at the supporter sections a few times because it seemed like it was about 5 times larger than usual, right? Yeah. I mean, I would love it to get to the point where it's wrapping around that whole back side. Obviously, that's wishful thinking, but it felt much more like a proper footballing environment. And I think, credit goes to the supporters for what they were able to achieve in that building. That was not the biggest crowd. It was the loudest crowd.
Yeah, and I could barely. You and I can. We often talk in the press box. Sunday, we could barely hear each other.
Yeah,
that's how loud it was.
Yeah, it was.
We usually
can. It was not good. Yeah.
Then I had to bring earplugs because I want to protect my hearing.
That's true, right?
But if you're any of the Southsiders or if you were at the game on Sunday, well done to you because it was such an amazing atmosphere. It was electric. And I asked Takaoka about the crowd, and he said, "Oh yeah, they were great. They made the tifo, and I got goosebumps from it." And when a player is saying that, the fans did a good job.
Absolutely, it's not. I mean, I remember playing as a kid, but you tune the crowd out a lot. When you're able to get the crowd on your side, and it felt that way right from the very beginning. I mean, the tifo was unveiled right after the anthems. That's a boost. It's an added boost, and I think it really, really helped.
And scoring
but
too.
There is a game 3, and that game three is back in LA
tomorrow. So this is going to be tough because it's back in LA, and LAFC, they have the most pressure here because they do not want to be the first number 1 seed to lose a best of 3 series in the first round, and they do not want to be the first team to blow a 1-0 series lead.
Yeah. I don't know what to expect. I think if the Whitecaps can go in there and play the same game, that same aggressive style, they absolutely have an opportunity. I think that first goal is going to be key. That first goal is going to be so momentous, especially with the history of these two teams, and just to deflate that LAFC crowd, another very, very loud crowd. I also think LAFC has been wounded a little bit, and it's not something they're accustomed to. They don't lose a lot, and they don't get slapped a lot. And they got slapped 3-0. The only time they lost a game 3-0 was one of Hugo Lloris's very first games with the club. I think it was like his second game, and that was in Salt Lake
in March,
where it was snowing.
Yep.
Right. I mean, we remember. I don't remember if you remember watching that game. It wasn't just snowing. It was like the ground was white. They were shoveling the lines so that they could actually see where it was going. I think Lloris was talking afterwards. He's like, "Why do you play in this?"
Yeah, I think the whole team was.
Like, I played in England. We just had to deal with rain.
Yeah, and the LAFC do not lose games like that.
No, they don't.
Losing that passion very often, and they're going to want to bounce back in front of their home crowd and put the Whitecaps to bed. But the Whitecaps have a chance to do something monumental and pull off a massive upset. And again, first goal is key because I believe in this one, first goal wins. Whoever scores the first goal will win the game. And the Whitecaps need to start the same way as they did game 2. Go all out, try to get that first goal, be very attack-minded, high press, but be solid defensively, keep that structure at the same time because, once again, LAFC are good on the transitions. And in game 2, we saw them, Blackman and Veselinovic in particular, form a wall around Olivier Giroud. So that needs to continue.
The one thing I also really liked with this, what we call the Christmas tree formation, was by putting Sam as that more fullback position further back down, or depending on if you're playing that back 4, back 3.5 that Danny sometimes refers to, where he'll swing in to be the wide center back on the left. Having Fafa in front of him and having Fafa playing so wide out means Sam doesn't have to bomb up and down that side the whole game, right?
Yeah, because
it allows him to just focus on the defensive abilities, and he can put that ball up to Fafa. It cuts a lot out of his game that he doesn't have to do. And I think it allows him to just concentrate on the stuff that he can do. Yes, we know he can cross the ball, and that does take it away. He might get the early crosses in, but we're not going to see him putting it in from the byline. But from some of the mistakes that we had seen from Sam in the games previous to this, I think that was a change that was needed at this stage. And it's going to be interesting to see how he's utilized in LAFC. Do they go back where he's bombing up and down the sides, where they want to use the strength of his crossing ability? Or do they set him back down where it's like, worry about the defensive game, we've got you covered up front?
Yeah, we got Fafa in game 2. Like, he was everywhere, just winning the one-on-one battles, crossing. Could have scored himself, but
he's such an antagonist too, isn't he? I mean, the way, I mean, he's that new version of a Richie Larea, where he can just get, I mean, not to the extent of Richie Larea. I mean, there's some guys that just really get under your skin, like really get under your skin. And that's Richie, right? But Fafa can do it too.
Yeah, but not in like that way. If you know what we're saying.
The difference is that Fafa is not flopping around on the ground. Fafa is just, it's the little comments, right? It's the little comments after the play, right? You know, it's skinning a guy, getting around him on a 1v1, and then after the play is done is reminding the guy what you just did. You know, things like that.
That's how it does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like in game 2, Fafa and Ali Ahmed, like in the first half, were covering that left flank area and linking up with one another. So Sam doesn't have to go up and down the pitch all the time. And though Ali Ahmed, a good first half, second half, I don't know what happened. Just poor decision making, giveaways, times where he could have shot. I mean, the crowd was yelling, shoot, but he didn't. And thankfully, he came off like in the 60th minute.
I look at what Cherundolo did with his halftime talk, and I think one of the things he said is, if we're going to get through the Whitecaps, we're getting through Ali Ahmed. I think he got identified as the weak link. And in that first 10, 15 minutes of the second half, that's what we saw, and that's why he came off. Something's off. I think it's better when he was playing as, that 8. I like him in that position, but it's also been a long time since he's played in that position for the Whitecaps. So I can understand where it's, he's a little rusty. I agree with you. Good first half, second half. I'm glad he was the first guy coming off.
Yeah. And, looked comfortable in the first half. Second half, it just fell apart for him. So
I have a feeling you're going to see Pedro Vite tomorrow.
Yeah, he did not play in game 2, and that's who I would start instead of Ahmed. I'd go with the same lineup, except Vite in for Ahmed.
I put Vite in for Ahmed. I do wonder if they we'll wait and see. It'll be interesting. My interest is do they keep Berhalter at right back?
Yeah, that's what I was also thinking.
Yeah. I liked him. I thought he did a great job, but are you riding luck, or do you think that this is something that he can do over a longer period of time? We'll wait and see.
Yeah, and it was a gamble in game 2 from Vanny's lineup, and we'll see if he can gamble again for game 3, which takes place tomorrow in LA. And this is do or die. Which coach adapts to the other coach, and we'll see if the Whitecaps can move on or if they're going to go home, because the winner of this series will take on the Seattle Sounders. And I'm sure it's going to be a raucous crowd down there at BMO Stadium for LAFC to win the game. But again, the Whitecaps have a chance. I do like their chances in this game, but a lot of stuff has to go right, just like they did in game 2 for them to win.
It's 90 minutes. I mean, it's down to a best of one. I mean, it's the knockouts that we love. And the one thing I should mention is the best of 3 when it comes to MLS. I mean, they've talked to a bunch of players. Players don't like it.
Players are confused.
It just feels weird. If this game was a home and away and you win on aggregate, Whitecaps
would have gone through.
Yeah.
That's frustrating.
Yeah.
So
let's make it happen.
Yeah, let's see what they can do for game 3. See if they can pull off a big upset tomorrow.
A couple of other interesting MLS news before we get going. We should talk about one of the other series that was a very, very big surprise. Columbus Crew, the defending MLS Cup champions, are out in a sweep from New York Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean, Red Bull's just first game, they stymied Cucho on the attack.
Yep.
Second game was an absolute bonkers game, and Columbus tied it up late. And then the penalty shootout, some of the weakest penalties you'll ever see from both teams. I mean, we were watching it before the Whitecaps.
Neither side wanted to win. That's the way it felt.
Yeah, and the Red Bulls prevailed after like 6-7 rounds or whatever it was. Yeah. And Columbus have more questions than answers now because
it's funny. I was talking to someone else about this and was like, we're at the point where it's almost Don Garber's worst nightmare. Your defending champions are out, and both of your best of 3 series have the top seed going to a game 3 and could be potentially kicked out in LAFC and Inter Miami. If all 3 of those teams are off, like it's like, do we just see him say, "Forget it, I'm retiring"?
Yeah.
Right. It's like the perfect storm. If Gary Bettman had to deal with an NHL
Canadian
final, that's all Canadian, right?
Right. Garber would just combust into flames.
Imagine if it was like, I don't know, like Winnipeg versus Ottawa. Like that would just be the end of days.
Yeah, that would be the end of it. But yeah, I mean, Columbus Crew. I mean, I don't think anyone had. I had the series going 3, but I don't think anyone had the Red Bulls beating them. Like a team of Columbus's caliber should not go out of the first round. That's just shocking.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting is if you take a look at the bracket, Vancouver and LAFC are the only best of 3 series in the West that's gone to 3 games.
Yeah, and I thought Houston-Seattle would go to 3 games, but Seattle have gone through to the second round, as mentioned. Winner will Vancouver LAFC.
Boring series that was.
Yeah. Other than the end where Hector Herrera, this is such an idiotic move. I don't know what he was thinking. Gets a yellow and then walks behind the referee, spits on him and then VAR goes to the ref's ear saying, "Oh, this player spat on you. You better send him off." And he rightfully did. And then
he hide it.
Yeah,
didn't even.
There's nowhere to hide.
You see the head go and just. And the crazy thing is the coach was arguing the call.
Yeah, I don't know why Ben Olsen was like how. That was just a stupid thing to do.
Yeah.
Plus, there's nowhere to hide because there's cameras everywhere.
Yep.
And then Houston loses on penalties to Seattle, and that series is thankfully over.
And interesting thing is Hector Herrera has had his contract option declined. So he is now without a club.
Yeah, and I'm sure the spitting incident had a lot to do with it, though maybe this was decided
I feel it might have been the final nail in the coffin. I think that the writing was on the wall for this for quite a while.
Yeah.
This didn't help. And who knows, maybe the spitting had to do with the fact of frustration of him knowing what's coming. I don't know. But there's bad plays, but it's not that often where you see something that's a truly disgusting play. This is one of them.
Yeah, this is one where, what are you thinking? Like, why?
Player sees red and, anyway.
The San Jose Earthquakes. This is interesting, surprising, whatever you want to call it. Former New England Revolution head coach Bruce Arena is their new head coach.
Yeah. Rumblings of Arena that was coming back somewhere. We weren't too sure where, whatnot, but
yeah,
it seems like he's found a new home
in sunny San Jose. Well, it has been anything but sunny for the Earthquakes the past year or so because a lot of problems on and off the pitch, and he's also going to be their sporting director too.
But it makes you wonder if you've got problems on and off the pitch, is Arena the guy to do it? He was let go by the New England Revolution because of basically creating issues off the pitch. Insensitive, inappropriate remarks. He was placed on administrative leave before he was let go. Yep. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the winningest coaches, if not the winningest coach in MLS. But he's got that He's got that old school brain where it worked in a certain generation, for better or worse. You can argue whether it should have or not. But for the game as it sits right now, for the personalities that you have at a club right now, is he the guy? Or maybe we should ask first is, has he changed? Can he be the guy?
That's the thing. He needs to prove he has changed his ways and, kind of get with the times here. And it's not like he'll magically save San Jose from the trenches. This is going to take years.
Yeah. Like, he's been out of the game for over a year. So it'll be interesting to see what he does coming in.
Yeah. It's a start for San Jose, I guess. But let's see where they go from here.
It'll be interesting because we got to remember, like, he basically ended up with a mutiny. Like, his players were refusing to train for him.
Yeah, so that was really saying something.
So, Bruce Arena, new San Jose Earthquakes head coach.
And
San Jose, it's not like they can get worse, right?
Right, maybe there'll be a big shakeup under Bruce Arena.
Yeah, one of the teams to watch for an interesting offseason.
Yep. To the CPL. The CPL final is set for the second straight year. It's Cavalry against Forge. And Forge has been the final for the sixth straight year. All 6 years the CPL has been in existence pretty much. And they defeated
You got to say it. Forge is the first dynasty of the CPL.
Easily.
Yeah.
And they defeated Atletico Ottawa and Hamilton 1-0. Jesus Del Campo with the only goal from a header off the corner kick. I mean, Ottawa kept pushing and pushing and pushing, but Forge's defense and their goalkeeper, Yassim Kolilat, made some great saves, and it just wasn't enough. No Olympico magic from Ottawa, unfortunately. So, Forge Cavalry in Calgary on Saturday at 1 p.m. That match will be on not just One Soccer, but also on CBC. And Cavalry have a chance to end Forge's streak, and they get to do it in front of their home fans, and should be a good one. I think it'll be a close match, evenly contested. And these two teams met in the preliminary final, a weird playoff round a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
Cavalry won 1-0 thanks to Tobias Warczewski, and he'll be a big X factor for the final as the CPL's Golden Boot winner.
I don't know. Maybe it's a bold call. I'm going Cavalry on this one.
Yeah, I think I'll go with Cavalry too.
I feel like I shouldn't. I'm from Edmonton. I have to hate all things Calgary, but I'm a fan of Cavalry. I like what they do, and I am a big fan of Tommy Wilden Jr.
So am I.
Big fan of him. He is someone that I feel bigger teams should be looking at if there were openings.
Yeah, but the guy, I think he just signed a contract extension with Cavalry a year ago or something.
It's a contract extension in the CPL. I'm pretty sure someone could buy him out.
Yeah. One name to watch in this final is Whitecaps loanee Jay Herdman.
Yeah.
Who's actually done well in these playoffs.
Yep. Moving on, some Canada soccer stuff. We talked about following the story with the abuse scandals that have been going through Canada soccer, Vancouver Whitecaps, and all that going back decades. Well, one of the names from that was Hubert Busby Jr. He was one of the two coaches that was charged. There wasn't kind of an introductory investigation done by FIFA. As part of this, it was an independent one. That investigation now completed, and it completed in a way where it said it remains open. They're open to more information, but with what they had, they took no position yet. Now, there are other investigations going on, so let's just put that there.
Yep.
Busby had been the head coach at the time of the Jamaican women's national team. Well, he is back now. He has just been reinstated. He has said that because this independent investigation is over, that he has been cleared of all charges. And, the Jamaican FA says the same. That is not true.
Yeah, it's not true.
Let's just say that. It's not true. I mean, yes, he is the coach. He is back, but he hasn't been cleared of anything. And
No.
FIFA has actually come out
Not
and
at all.
said that. So, yeah, I mean, kind of a tough one to watch, but especially if you were a player that was with either the
Yeah.
Whitecaps or Canada Soccer at the time. But
Yeah, this is tough to watch, and I don't know, just falsely claiming that you've been clear when you clearly haven't.
Yeah. So the preliminary investigation is done, but they have said, and this is what FIFA has said, it's under their code of ethics standing committee that they can reopen a new investigation in accordance with Article 85 of the FIFA Code of Ethics. But the interesting thing is how little information this independent or this review did. They didn't talk to witnesses.
Nope.
They have some written testimony, not all. It
but not
feels
much.
like you got to wonder, like, what did they have sitting in front of them in order to make any sort of call, and why did they not go after other information from individuals that would have provided information?
Who knows?
Yeah, it's very half-assed. Not even that. Like this feels like something that people want to sweep under the rug.
Oh yeah, 100%, and it's just disgusting to see that happening. Yeah. So let's move over to Europe.
Chelsea.
Tough week for Chelsea. Knocked out of the Carabao Cup, and I don't want people saying, "Oh, it's just a Carabao Cup. It doesn't mean anything. It's a tin pot trophy." No, it's not. A trophy is a trophy, and winning the Carabao Cup, or at least reaching the semifinals, would have shown progress. This team with this talent should have at least reached the semifinals. But no, 2-0 loss to Newcastle at St. James's Park. Easily the worst performance of the season from Chelsea. Easily. So Disasi and Badiashile, the Monaco center back duo, though Disasi was at right back, which is terrible. Disaster class from both of them. I mean, they were both involved heavily on the 2 Newcastle goals. First one, poor passing from Jorgensen to Tosin, Badiashile, and to Vega. Very dangerous. It was like they were passing with a hot potato. And then they can't recover. Alexander Isak beats Jorgensen. 4 minutes later, poor marking on the cross from Isak. Goes off to Nally, then off to Sassy and deflects past Jorgensen. So the attack was just pretty much invisible, other than Joao Felix. Every time he had the ball, he thought shoot, but blasted it wide all the time. Even the close range shots. And Nkunku was too isolated. I think he really works better as a 10 or in a 2-striker system where he's all alone up top. He's too isolated. And it feels like he's doing all the trying to do the heavy lifting himself. Don't think he's that type of player. And then this one was just weird. Why was Kieran Dewsbury Hall at right wing? He's a midfielder. And he didn't really look that good anyway. And then at least Mikhailo Mudryk looked dangerous somewhat. Same with Marc Cucurella. But other than that, it was just so poor. And Dewsbury Hall was the only substitution for Maresca. He went off for Noni Madueke. And despite having Cole Palmer on the bench, he didn't use him because, load management and all that. But I get, wanting to rest your players, but the cup is just important. And when you're down that much in the cup, use your best players. Then Maresca got it all wrong in that game. So there was the 1-1 draw at Old Trafford. Man United. So Man United in their first Premier League game without Ten Hag, Ruud van Nistelrooy as the interim. Chelsea still can't win there. It's been 11 years since they've won there.
Wow.
And that was during the Alex Ferguson era, and Rafa Benitez was the Chelsea interim head coach that year. Yeah, that was a bizarre year for Chelsea. And it was a sluggish first half, not just for Chelsea, but for Man United too. Both teams weren't really creating anything. There was just a lot of tackles in the midfield. Like, this game was full of cards. The best chance was Noni Madueke hitting the post off the corner in the 14th minute. And yeah, it just felt like a really boring and sluggish first half. Second half, things changed. Robert Sanchez, this guy again. Him and his mistakes.
I want you
So,
to see you go one show without mentioning Robert Sanchez.
well, it's kind of hard when he starts every game and makes mistakes. So, Hoyland chases down the ball, though it kind of looked like the ball would have gone out of play anyway. But then Robert Sanchez decides to dive in and he takes out Hoyland's legs. Clear penalty. No one's arguing that. But just a poor decision from Sanchez. Bruno Fernandes scores. Yet Enzo Maresca still trusts him to be the number one. I'm sorry, but at some point I want to see Philip Jorgensen start out in the Premier League. Because from what I've seen from Jorgensen, at least he can pass the ball right. And he hasn't made any glaring mistakes as much as Sanchez. So Jorgensen has only started 5 games. So Chelsea fans pretty much need some kind of heart rate monitor every time Sanchez has the ball, or someone is on goal with Sanchez, because
But
this guy's just so
speed,
chaotic.
right?
Supposedly, but I've seen better distribution from Takaoka than Sanchez. Because this guy's passing and distribution is just so poor. But hey, Chelsea got back into the game 5 minutes later. Off the corner kick, the birthday boy, well, the day after his 23rd birthday, Moises Caicedo, great low volley, and it beats Onana, tie game. See, again, Caicedo, he's among the league leaders in tackles, interceptions, through balls. One of the best midfielders in the league right now. And he scored a goal like that. So, well done, Caicedo. Could have taken the lead 2 minutes later, but good on Nicholas Jackson, knowing that he was surrounded by defenders, for passing it back to Enzo Fernandez, but Fernandez just shot it into Rosie with a wide open net. I don't know. There's also this whole thing with Enzo Fernandez leaving his wife because, I don't know, he's tired of her and he wants to be that. It's a bizarre story that
I was going to ask you about Fernandez, about what's going on with him on the pitch. I didn't realize there was other stuff going on.
I feel like that's kind of playing a factor. I don't know, maybe
it would have to.
Why he's been so poor, poor decision making on and off the pitch.
Okay.
I'm not going to get too much into that part, but
105 million, right?
Yeah. Benfica is enjoying the money right now.
Yeah.
And Nicholas Jackson and Cole Palmer were quiet. I mean, Palmer was dropping deep. He was being surrounded. Wasn't as free as he was, we've seen many times. And I don't want to hear this narrative Palmer ghosts in big games, because dating back to last season, he scored against United, Spurs, City, Arsenal. And in the Euros, he scored in the final, coming off the bench. So this disappears in big games. Narrative is lazy. Sure, he hasn't scored against the top 6 this season, but he does not disappear in big games. And this game, I guess, sure, is an exception and could have done better. Same with Jackson. Most dangerous attacker was Pedro Neto, because he was just flying down the wing, winning 1v1s, creating, crossing, and leading the attack. And I don't really understand this whole experiment with Reece James as a left back and Malo Gusto on the right back. It's just weird, because Gusto, no matter where he plays, he struggled this season. Poor decision making, defensive lapses, bad passes. I think just like other players, he needs to be relegated to the B team and let James play on the right, put Cucurella on the left, or Vega, and let Gusto find his footing as he sits on the bench. But if not for Garnacho missing 100 chances, especially late in the first half, Chelsea end up getting a point, though it feels like 2 points lost, because even Moises Caicedo said they should have won this game. They had better chances at times. They were better in possession. Just frustrating. But next for Chelsea is Noah FC, the Armenian club, in the Europa Conference League today. And then London Derby, Arsenal on Sunday, who have been struggling without Martin Odegaard. And Arteta's football has been boring to watch.
Odegaard should be back, so that's something.
Yeah, maybe.
But
And
yeah, I don't know what's going on with Arsenal either this year.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal will want to come out firing to get out of the slump, but Chelsea, like, try to keep them down because it's a big derby game. Chelsea have not beat Arsenal since 2021, and I want to win this game no matter what. So at least for Tottenham, it was a good day at the new White Hart Lane, despite conceding first.
It was a good day. I should say they're playing right now in Europa League, and about 10 seconds ago, opening 5 minutes into the game, Galatasaray just had an absolute golazo from maybe 25 yards out.
Geez.
That's not good so far. But on the weekend, phenomenal 4-1 win over Aston Villa, and that's been one of the big things against Spurs is not being able to win against the teams that are above them in the table. This was emphatic. Yeah. Didn't start that well. They actually went down in the first half, and again, Spurs and corners. Their ability to stop set pieces, especially off the corner, has been very, very, very poor this going back towards last year. Now, the one thing is I know a lot of people criticize Spurs as, not being defensive, not being that good. They're actually one of the most defensive teams in the Premier League this year. In terms of goal difference, I think only Liverpool is better than them. So they actually have it's weird for such an attacking team, for how much we watch Spurs going forward. Defensively, they've been better this year. And I think a lot of that credit has to go to having Mickey van de Ven back. Now, he was out for this game. Raghu Dragusin came in, and he's come in and done quite well over the past couple of games. Hopefully Van de Ven will be back soon. But in this game, second half, it was a completely different game. It was all Spurs. Started early.
All Spurs.
Yeah. Great cross from Son into Brennan Johnson. And for all the criticism and some of the disgusting comments that Brennan Johnson was getting at the beginning of the season, this guy's got 7 goals.
That's one way to keep him quiet.
It's one way to keep him quiet.
The best way, actually.
The best way, right? And you know what? I hope they stay quiet. 75th minute, they took the lead with Solanke, who, finally, I don't think he had scored in about 4 games. I don't even think he'd had a shot in 3 games. It just wasn't going his way. Great from Ben Davies, the consummate Spurs player. I mean, that guy is the epitome of a squad guy, and he's just, they're going to end up having to build training grounds around him because the guy will never leave. Great transition through the middle in order to get the ball to Solanke, gets through the lines, puts the ball in the net.
Great
questions about offside. It was onside, so
it was
good. Only a few minutes later, Solanke again, and this was started by Sarr, who intercepts a very poor ball in the middle of the pitch, puts it up to Richarlison, who was just on, up to the left, cuts it across and in. Now, Richarlison, unfortunately, was not able to finish the game around the 81st minute. He had to come off injured. It sounds like it's not a great one. He might be out for a while, but bring in James Maddison. And with the last kick of the play, 96th minute, did you see this free kick?
Great free kick. Perfectly placed.
What I love is when the referee blew the whistle, he just turned around and took it. He did not wait. It was a beautiful placement, free kick. Maddison, if this is a guy who wants to fight for a starting position, good way to do it. Unfortunately, Cristiano Romero also had to go off injured. His doesn't sound too bad. It sounds like he might need a game or two just to kind of get back up. Richarlison could be a bit longer. One thing I wanted to point out is with Solanke, he's now got 4 goals in 8 appearances, but he's only averaging a goal every 177 minutes.
Not bad.
It's not bad. I maybe I'm spoiled because of watching Harry Kane for years. I'm hoping that it gets better. You got to remember, this guy had, I believe, 16 goals last year. So I'm hoping for a similar return, right? We'll have to wait and see. But what I do like about Solanke is he finds positions very well. I like his strength. I like that he is also willing to drop back a little bit and then play in his wings, and then get back up. So I really do like him. I think he has fit in rather well. I still think that there's more to come from him, and I'm hoping that there's more to come from him. So we're waiting for that. Other than that, I'm still watching this Galatasaray game. Like I said, it's 1-0 for Galatasaray so far. And then this weekend is back home playing Ipswich. So that better be a win too.
Should be a win.
Yeah.
Should be. So
let's go back to Premier League. We talked about it last week, but it has been confirmed. Ruben Amorim is officially the Man United head coach.
He'll take over on the 11th officially, and his last game was against Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. 4-1 win, courtesy of a hat trick from the hottest striker on the planet right now, Victor Gyökeres, in the Champions League. And this is only the second time Pep has lost 3 games in a row, which is crazy.
Yeah. We talked about it last week where Guardiola was saying that right now they only have 13 healthy players.
Which is,
I mean, I get it. Like the amount of games that Manchester City is being forced to play, the fact that they had players in the offseason that only had like 3 or 4 weeks off with Euro and Copa America and all those the commitments. They had actually asked if they could have extra time, were denied. They have a Club World Cup, which has been expanded. So they're going to have even like this. The amount of games that Man City has to play sucks. I think there needs to be a way to limit it because, I mean, think of just the number of players we see dropping with cardiac arrest.
Yeah, and Rodri, remember, he spoke about this last month or 2 months ago, and he's right.
Rodri said that you could see players going on strike.
Yeah.
There is a case right now, I think it's with FIFA Pro, the Players Union. They do have a case against FIFA right now in terms of the number of matches and player safety and things like that. I don't know who this complaint is in front of, like what judicial board is taking a look at it. My guess it's something through a European Commission, so we'll have to wait and see about that. But I don't think it's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, but back to United and Ruben Amorim. I've already seen United fans saying, "Oh, he beat Pep Guardiola. Man United are going to be back." No. It's going to take time, a lot of time, and Amorim's going to want to get the players he needs to implement the team he wants. And how will the current players adapt to, from the back four of Ten Hag to a 3-4-3 wing-back high line?
What I find interesting is Amorim actually asked if he could take over the club at the end of the season. He wanted to finish the season out with Sporting. And Man United said, no, it's now or not happening. So obviously he went and he made the jump, as we all know. Yep. Taking over in the middle of the season, he's still got 2 months before the January transfer window opens.
Yep.
I'm going to be very interested in what sort of immediate impact he can have. And we have to remember that the problems at Manchester United aren't just within the squad and the coaching staff.
Yeah.
It's infected right throughout the
entire club,
right through to the foundations of that club. Literally. I mean, Old Trafford's falling apart.
Literally, because the roofs were leaking.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a good hire. My hope is that this is not Amorim going in and realizing that no matter what he does not have the ability to make the change because he's not being given what he needs to make the change. My hope is that we don't see this guy age 20 years in 3 months.
He probably will, given, where United are at. But, I mean, Iones gave Ten Hag leeway when it came to transfers, but the entire policy was signing former Ajax players. So we'll see what Amorim does.
the funny thing is Ten Hag's win percentage wasn't bad.
It wasn't,
He
but
won trophies,
things
but
weren't working.
you had no idea who this team was, and that's what hurt him. It felt like they were winning almost in spite of him.
Yeah, and Amarim brings an identity, and that's what
you
United
know what
need.
the play is. I just don't know if he can do it at Man United.
Yeah,
that question is not going to be answered for a while. We need to see him cook. We need to see a transfer window.
Yep.
So we'll wait and say he's already named 3 players that he wants to bring in. Yakaris is one of them.
Definitely.
2 other. I had heard Marcus Edwards.
Yep.
Name talked about, and I can't remember the other one. So it'll be interesting to see if he ends up rating his own club.
He probably will.
Yeah.
I mean,
although you got to think that if you are a Porto fan, a Benfica fan, Braga, you're pretty happy with this.
Yeah. I mean, Sporting
are
still
interesting what happens with Sporting.
Yeah. And I just find it, I don't know. It's just me that I think managers should not be able to leave during the season unless they're fired. There should be a clause.
No, because if you can get fired, you can leave. If you're saying that only one can, if only one can affect it, then that gives too much pressure to clubs.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to leave, the club has to release you from the contract. You have to buy it out, so the club gets a say. But yeah, I don't know. I think if you can be fired, you can leave voluntarily. Otherwise, that's just too much power to clubs, and clubs already have too much power.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like teams can't just buy managers during the season. I don't know. It just irks me for some reason.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying, because it's with players, it's only within very regimented, very restricted windows. With managers, you don't get that. It can happen at any time. Well, I mean, it's a little bit different. I don't know if there is a union for managers.
Probably isn't, because managers earn like quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I think what I heard was the buyout for him. It was somewhere around the 10 million mark, wasn't it?
Yeah, 10 million euros or pounds. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
So, other Champions League action. Aston Villa losing to Club Brugge. I didn't get to watch this game, but apparently Ming won the craziest penalty against for handling the ball.
Did you see this?
Basically,
he wasn't paying attention. Highlights. The goalkeeper passed the ball to him. Ming reached down and picked it up. It was just one of those moments where he did not realize that the play was happening, and he just picked it up. Now, this happened in a game last year. I want to say, I can't remember the teams. I think Arsenal was involved and whatnot. And the referee actually allowed them to retake the penalty kick, or not allowed them to retake the goal kick, saying, look, that's a schoolyard play. Just go ahead and do it. By the letter of the law, this is handball. It's a penalty.
Yep, it's a handball.
I mean, if your mind isn't on the game,
pay attention. Get your head in the game.
So I agree. This had to be given. I think what happened last year was wrong. So yeah, just bizarre.
Yeah, just get your head in the game.
Yeah.
Jonathan David continues to stay hot with Lille. Another goal in the Champions League. One just great pass. I can't remember who it was. The name escaping me. And great run by David to find it, and he beats the Juventus goalkeeper. And it's 1-1. It was 1-0, but Lille ended up drawing 1-1 due to San Vlahovic scoring a penalty. But good on Jonathan David for staying hot and being one of the most informed strikers in all of Europe right now.
Yeah. Got a quick update. Tottenham's just tied the game. Will Lancashire, first goal.
Wow.
Yep. He's starting the game as a striker, and he just scored in front of a hostile Galatasaray crowd. So 1-1.
And then Real Madrid lose again. It's not been a good week or so from Real Madrid. 3-1 loss to AC Milan. Poor defending on each of the goals, especially Tchouaméni on the second one. I don't know what he was doing there. It just feels like Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. can't coexist because the two of them had good chances to pass to each other and they didn't.
They're used to being the guy, and you can't have too many of those on one team, because if you have a team of individuals, no one's working together, and that's what's happening right now. And I'll hate to say it, it's Mbappe that is going to have to change. Yes. And I don't know if he can. I don't know if mentally if he can get that wrapped around.
Because his transfer is not looking good, and also should worth mentioning that Jude Bellingham pretty much disappeared in that game.
Yeah,
barely noticed him.
This is 2 losses in a row in different competitions for Real Madrid, I believe. I know there's questions at him. I mean, I think a lot of the questions are also because of what's happening with Barcelona.
Yeah, because they're flying.
Where's this coming from, right?
Yeah, look what Hansi Flick has done with them. But Real Madrid just, again, they lack the cohesion.
Yeah. My hope is that Ancelotti can get these guys playing as a team, because if he can't do it, no one can.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but Ancelotti is one of the best managers in the world. And if you are, an early 20s player, you think you're hot stuff, you know everything, and you're not paying attention to someone like Carlos Ancelotti, this team isn't for you.
Yeah. And
I'm not a Real Madrid fan, but they should be doing a lot better. And the problem is not Ancelotti.
No. The problem is the players on the pitch trying to be individuals, but they need to find a way to coexist together, especially Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. And on this thing about the Premier League proposing amendments to the APT rules.
Apparently. Yeah, so this comes after the ruling where Manchester United, it was one of the, this is not the 115 charges. This was a separate
This is
thing.
Different.
And this is where, out of all the things, Man United won 2 points, and it had to do with the low interest loans to clubs being allowed to be counted as profit within the clubs. So the APT rules, the Premier League said, fine, we're going to rewrite them. Manchester City said, you can't rewrite them. You have to trash them all. They simply just don't exist anymore. Well, I'm sorry, but you were one of 20. You don't get to decide what happens for the entirety of the league. And the Premier League basically said as much. So they've come up with a new proposal. They've talked to lawyers, new rules in terms of the restrictions that comes to these sort of rules. So a lot of this has to do with the rules that govern commercial deals that clubs have. One of the amendments in this has to do with what they call fair market value. So it's the amount that an asset, a right, or other kind of subject matter, other kind of financial instrument can be sold, licensed, or exchanged between parties. So basically the whole idea is to stop clubs from overinflating assets within their club, and how they manage assets in between clubs and also in between themselves. Because you got to think that a club is the top, but they have all these subsidiaries that go down, right? I mean, think of what Chelsea is selling a hotel to itself, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. There is going to be an easing of these restrictions because Man City had won these 2 points. So we'll have to wait and see. So far, City and the Premier League haven't commented on their thoughts about these rules. My guess is that City is going to. Remember that when the other ones were struck down, City actually sent a memo to all the other clubs to say, hey, we won. And basically pissed off all the other clubs, even the ones that were kind of sort of agreeing with City. So we got to remember, City right now, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, they're on an island unto themselves. It's going to be interesting to see if that animosity against City has the other clubs voting in favor of these new rules.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. And staying with City here, before we wrap up, former Man City defender Benjamin Mendy, the judge ruled him that he is entitled to the unpaid salary from Man City.
So in years, this goes back until August of 2021, when he was charged with multiple counts of rape and assault.
Yep.
He was suspended by his club, Manchester City, at the time. And he basically says that he is owed £11 million before taxes in unpaid wages because in the court cases he was by British court cleared of all charges. That's the wording of the case. So there. Now, this one judge in England, Judge Joanne Dunlop, says that he is entitled to that because, one, they didn't fire him.
They just suspended him.
So he is technically still with the club, and saying that the player showed a willingness to play, kept up his training, yada, yada, and all that stuff. Now, he's not entitled to all of it. You do have to remember that he was remanded into custody for a number of months before he was given bail. He is now playing, I think, with Lorient in Ligue 1.
He is with Lorient. Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I do wonder if Man City tries to appeal this, on what grounds they try to appeal. But Judge has said that he is entitled to at least a majority of that £11 million.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, if they didn't fire him and he was still on the payroll,
he was on the payroll without being paid. I think things could have been different if they had canceled the contract.
Which probably would have been the best scenario.
Again, and I don't know the rules of these contracts. I don't know if they were able to. I'm sure there's got to be a clause in there if you are under criminal prosecution. Maybe you're only allowed to cancel if you've been convicted. I don't think that is. I think we've seen it before where contracts have just been canceled for such incidents. It's interesting. This one wasn't.
Yeah, and instead of, he's playing for Lorient right now, and I believe that is a team that kind of wears orange. So, not Prison FC, but it's something.
Yeah.
They do wear orange.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about it, but this is one of those things where the letter of the law might not match with the nature or the intention of the law.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. So we'll end it there. I should also mention that in terms of Chelsea, there's uncertainty that Cole Palmer will play on Sunday due to him taking a rough tackle from Lisandro Martinez where he got studs on his leg. That should have been a red, but we'll don't know if Cole Palmer will play on Sunday. But closer to home, Whitecaps tomorrow, Game 3, do or die against LAFC. We'll be watching, we'll be covering, and hopefully we'll see a Whitecap season continue. But again,
kickoff's at 7:30, I believe.
Not 8. I think 8 was the original.
Yeah, just keep in mind.
They changed it for some reason, but Whitecaps once again in a do or die situation, and CPL final this weekend. Thanks to everyone who viewed us on the Facebook, Terminal City FC YouTube, and Area 51 Twitter pages. Thanks to anyone listening on the podcast feeds. Follow me on Twitter, Joshua00, Nathan is it, and Dirk. Podcast is at Terminal City FC. Follow us on Instagram, Terminal City FC. YouTube is Terminal City FC. More video content coming this way. So that concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.